What is the first time, if ever, you felt represented on film?
That is a great one. Here's the thing. We used to go to the movies a lot. And I remember, for example, when Shaft came out and Superfly came out. I mean, I was too young, but that doesn't stop you from going to see inappropriate films. So I grew up in blaxploitation and was like, yes, more of this, please. And all of it, like Bruce Lee, I remembered when I met Shannon Lee, and I was like, Shannon, black people completely claim Bruce in the racial draft. Like it's
We're gonna
like
have to fight you for it, but I get it.
no. I understand. We may have to give up LeBron. I mean, like it's a high stakes
Wu-Tang
situation.
Clan, according to what SNL.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I get it, but the point is,
Or-
so so yes, it's funny because you get specific. Like, is it just, hey, that's black culture and I love it, right? Or is it, hey, here's a blurred on screen and he's not being made fun of, and like, oh, that literally is me. So it's all the layers, right?
So it was Dave Chappelle with the racial draft, and Wu-Tang Clan went to the Chinese. That
Totally
was
Yes.
fair.
actually a bit. Yeah, yeah. Speaking of
Yeah,
anyway,
that's a
totally
high
on
stakes
topic.
trade. That's a high stakes trade.
You know
Look,
what I
Bruce Lee is
mean?
one
You
of
know
our
what I mean?
MVPs. Like he's our Steph,
Yeah,
he's our LeBron. Like
yeah.
No,
you
no,
gotta give us
you
something though.
kind of. I mean, it's totally understand to say no. That's off the table forever,
Mhm.
right? I mean,
But
Bruce is, but what I guess what I'm saying is, racial trade aside, I had George Clinton on one wall and Bruce Lee on the other.
okay, that's an important point because I mean, I think where we saw ourselves in Black culture, it's music. Like, that was the way we saw beauty and glamour for Black women, for myself. You know what I mean? Like, oh my
Mm.
God, But the movie when I was a kid that totally blew my mind was The Wiz.
Sure.
I was like, ease on down, ease on, and I can't sing and none of that. We would literally skip down our street. I would make my dad do it with us, and we would ease on down the road. It was just the pageantry, Diana Ross as Dorothy, Michael Jackson, and it was on the big screen. I mean, I remember the theater, and the screen was like the two-story high. There wasn't multiplexes yet, and it just was phenomenal. And it's weird to hear later that that movie was not as huge a box office um, smash as it was in my mind, but the way that it
Right. Well,
the
yeah,
way
that's
that
the
it hit
thing. It's
me.
like flop, not in my house, right?
Exactly.
Exactly. No, because it's funny you say that because now I'm like,
The Wiz.
well, I mean, with the movie that rocked me was Black Orpheus, right?
Ah,
Because on the local PBS station, they would show like the Janus film collection. So you could see Jules and Jim and all this stuff. And they play like Black Orpheus every day for a week. And I watched it every day. I was just like, yes, all of this.
Reggie's highbrow. I didn't get to it until college, but yeah, that was such a
No,
beautiful.
but I also was watching Shaft and Jason and the Argonauts. I mean, like they
Right.
all, and there was no. I mean, they were all the same to me. They were just movies, right? And that's the key. Like, I don't believe in high art, low art. I believe in
Yeah.
art.
Okay, so I also usually ask this question later, but now this is a perfect follow-up. What is the first film that y'all saw in theaters that you were the impetus for going to go see? So like it made it onto your radar somehow, and you're like, I must see it. The answer might be The Wiz, but you were just like, I must see this film in a movie theater. And
Ah, wow. You know what? Here's the thing. It may be Enter the Dragon, right?
oh,
Because I mean, here's the thing. Because we saw Enter the Dragon like a lot, right? So we saw it at the big movie palace again before they got cut up. I saw it there. Then by the time we got to the drive-in was close enough that we could ride our bikes to see it, right? And of course, when we saw it in the big movie palace, we stayed there all day, right? So we saw it like 5 times. So then by the time we saw it at the drive-in, we knew the moves. So we parked our bikes by a speaker and we just imitated all the action, right? To the best of our ability, which was pretty poor. But, you know, but it was with love. And so, yeah.
That's a tough question. I want to say it was older because The Wiz was like there weren't that many things in theater, like, but it was the thing that I think it was in high school when I saw She's Gotta Have It. I went and I took my boyfriend at the time, and it was really embarrassing because I didn't really know what it was about, but I knew it was independent, and I'd seen and it was a woman, a Black woman lead, and it was this new independent director, Spike Lee.
Whatever
And
happened
there
to
were a couple
him?
of those scenes I was just like mortified.
Well, because it was very sexual.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when you said you brought your boyfriend, I was like, oh, that's a choice. But none of us could have known.
At the time. But like, here's the thing: movies are important because they are casting, the visuals of our world. They're so much a part of our culture that when you get to see yourself and see versions of yourself, it's partially possibilities, right? It's the stories, and it's partially it can just be so exciting, which is why I feel like this movie is number one on the call sheet. The documentary is a way of kind of encapsulating a lot of that history. So those questions are kind of in there. And for me, some of my favorite films, are not highlighted because it wouldn't work with the story, but they're there. There's almost 200 films referenced in the women's version.
Yes, this is such a perfect segue because I am curious for both of y'all, like, how did you narrow down who to include, right? Because obviously there's the criteria of like, if you are a performer, were you number one on the call sheet? But I know in like the men's version, we also get folks like entertainment lawyers. So what was that process like and I'm sure some of it's just like time and availability, but how did you kind of narrow down your wish list of folks to approach and like weave in?
Yeah, we had this insanely long list, and about midway through the process, we were like, we have to stop. We have to whittle down this list. It's just too doggone long. And you're right, we did add a couple of casting directors, a couple of attorneys, because we wanted someone to talk about the business side in a more, 40,000 feet level. And like, it's personal for everybody, including your representation. They're like, how dare you offer my client this or that? But the point is, I just wanted to, like here's how the business works. So yeah, we had directors because I talk a little bit and Quentin talks a little bit. So we just wanted to give a little context. So we kept the other voices to a minimum, but put a few in there because we make up our own rules.
Yeah, I actually interviewed casting directors and agents, but the set was for the actresses, and the set and those interviews just stylistically did not work with what we had done previously. And I thought it was really, and then kind of in terms of the writing, I thought it was really important to give the women the floor, period. Because so often they don't get the floor. And literally the set is this stage, and I was like, get up, move around, you can do anything, got very little of that, right? But some of them brought poems or sang songs. And, I wanted to hear what they had to say about the business and not impose any ideas on them. And so I hope that's what the audience takes away, the like fangirlness of and also the way we shot was very Annie Leibovitz at work. I was like, we want to be transparent about the whole process and you know what I mean, and show and blah, blah. Yeah.
I loved it. I also loved that the women all knew where the other, like all the cameras were with like the aside, you'd get that like snap.
I was like, that's
just
the
like
camera.
They've been on a lot of sets.
Exactly. It's true. It's true. And, certain women, like Hallie was so funny. She's like, yeah, I'm not using the B camera. And then she was using the B camera. Like it was innate, like, the space, you could see them working.